Today we are making my mini sourdough pigs in a blanket. They are so easy to make. They're dippable. You can use them for so many different occasions. Let's go make them. You can find my full written recipe link down in the description below. Just click that link, it'll take you over to the blog where you can print and save anytime. There's tons of serving tips over there, storage ideas, all kinds of stuff. This recipe allows you to make pigs in a blanket in a much more wholesome and easy way. So I always like to get a wholesome hot dog brand, and then I make my Sourdough Crescent rolls. So I've already made and bulk fermented my crescent roll dough. While I get everything around for this recipe, I'm gonna show you real quick how I did that. To make our sourdough crescent rolls, we first have 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour in our mixing bowl. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of sea salt to this, and then we're just going to grab our whisk and we are going to mix to combine. Next, we'll grab 6 tablespoons of cold salted stick butter, and we're going to grate this into our mixture. If you do not have a box grater, you can cut this into small cubes and then use a fork to cut it into pea-sized pieces into your flour mixture. Once you have that grated in, you're going to grab your bread whisk and we're just going to mix this to combine. You want to make sure all the butter pieces are completely coated in flour. Now we're going to add our wet ingredients in. First, we'll add in 1/2 cup of fed sourdough starter, 1/2 cup of milk, I like to use whole milk, and 2 tablespoons of honey. Now we're just going to stir to combine this. It will be a little bit shaggy, so after a little while you'll want to use your hands to finish it up. This is what you're looking for, so now we're just going to use our hands to knead this together to create a dough ball. Now if your dough is not coming together at all, your sourdough starter is just less hydrated than mine, that's perfectly fine. Just add a few extra tablespoons of milk. If your dough is too wet and it doesn't look shaggy at all, that just means your starter is more hydrated than mine, not a problem. Just add a few extra tablespoons of flour and that will help with that. Once you've combined it together with your hands to a dough ball, we'll turn it out onto the counter. No flour is needed. And then we're just gonna knead our dough for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll place it back in our mixing bowl. Now we'll just place our dough back in the mixing bowl, and then you can cover it with a damp kitchen towel that you've gotten wet, wring out, and then place over this. You can use saran wrap, or you can use the lid like I do. If you do that, just place it on loosely. So my hands are very dirty, but we'll place it on one side and the other two will stay open, and we'll let this sit on the counter in a non-drafty place at room temperature for 12 hours to bulk ferment. We're looking for it to double in size in the mixing bowl, so whenever it's done, we can continue this recipe. Now, if you don't have time to continue it right when it's done fermenting, just pop the bowl in the fridge for up to 24 hours until you're ready to continue the recipe. Now when your dough is done, you're gonna want to preheat your oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit and line a sheet pan with parchment paper. Now I'm out of parchment paper, so I just buttered and floured this to grease it. We're gonna set that to the side, and then we're gonna grab our fermented sourdough crescent roll dough. This is so good. And then you'll want to grab a rolling pin, and we're just gonna roll this out to about 1/2 inch thick. So that's about like a 9 by 11 slab. It doesn't have to be exact. And then also, if your dough is sticking, we'll just dust it with a little bit of flour. Make sure it gets up underneath so when we're cutting these pieces out, it's not gonna be sticking. And then you just wanna try to keep it in a rectangular shape. Once our dough is rolled out, we're gonna want to grab a pizza cutter or a knife, and we're going to slice this in half horizontally. So you'll have 2 long rectangles. So just like this, you'll have 2 of them. They should be on top and bottom. And then we're gonna use our cutter, and we're going to make slices about every 1 to 1.5 inches. These are gonna be the strips that we're gonna roll our little hot dogs up in. I always like to measure out my dough with my hand. So your first little knuckle on your pointer finger is about 1 inch. So then that's how I kind of measure without a measuring tape. Again, these do not have to be perfect by any means. We're just getting them about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. So they should look just like this. When you're done, you should have about 20. Now, if your dough is rolled out a little differently, you're gonna have either a little more or less, totally fine, but we're gonna let these sit here. And then we'll grab our all beef hot dog. So I always like to get a wholesome, uncured all beef hot dog that doesn't have any nitrates or nitrates in it. So I always like to get the Teton Waters brand from Sprouts grocery store. You can use any kind that you can find. So I know Kroger, Walmart, and Target have Applegate brands. There's tons of other wholesome options, or you can use whatever you have. But I always like to do that. And then we will grab some kitchen scissors, or you can use a knife. And then we're gonna cut each hot dog into 2-inch pieces. So you're gonna want to measure out about 2 inches These are just gonna make little bites. Or to make it easy, you can divide each hot dog into 4 pieces. So it'll be little bite-sized pieces like this. So again, one hot dog will be 4 pieces. Now, if they're not the exact same size, it's totally fine. I just love kitchen shears. They make it so easy to do little things like this. And cutting meat, it's one of my favorite ways to cut them up. Because we cut each hot dog into 4 pieces, we'll need about 5 hot dogs. If you want to do a little bit less, say it's just you and somebody else, like me and my husband are having these for lunchtime, so I've only cut up 3 hot dogs. That way we don't have too much to eat. You could also cut up way more, so you could double the dough batch and then you could do 10 hot dogs if you want. But then once you have everything cut up in your dough slice, we're gonna grab 1 piece of hot dog, 1 piece of dough, and then we are going to just roll them. So we're just gonna roll the hot dog tight in there. So it'll look just like this. How cute is that? And then you'll want to grab your pan that we prepared and you're gonna place them tail side down. So the end of that dough needs to go down so it doesn't unravel while it's baking. And then we'll just continue until all of our hot dogs are rolled up, and you'll want to make sure they're 1 to 2 inches on the pan so they're not touching. But let's finish these up. Now, if you have extra dough like I do, since I made an entire batch of the crescent rolls and I only had 3 hot dogs, what you can do now, you can just roll these extra pieces up just like this and you'll have baby crescent rolls. And then you can just pop those right on your sheet pan with everything else. Now, these won't be as light and fluffy and flaky as my original sourdough crescent roll recipe would be, just because we're not letting them rise for a few hours before we bake them, but they're still amazing. Now we'll place these in the 425-degree preheated oven for about 20 minutes until the outside is fully baked and golden brown and the hot dog is warm. Now you can serve mini pigs in the blanket for many occasions, like I was saying. You can serve them for a party, an appetizer for watching football. You could also serve them for lunch. That's what we're doing today. My husband and I love eating them in almost any way, so I love dipping them in mustard and ketchup. He loves having them kind of by themselves, but you could also dip them in a cheese sauce. I'll leave my recipe link down below. It's a cheddar cheese sauce from scratch. It's so good. You could also do that with a jalapeno cheddar sauce or your favorite dipping, whether it's ranch or buffalo. You could also try that too. But I hope this recipe finds a special place in your home, helps you have a more wholesome option to regular pigs in a blanket. It really is so delicious and so easy. Thanks so much for joining me today. Until next time, go love your family and serve God 1 recipe at a time. And don't forget to subscribe.